with Scott Allen.
Hello, I am your host, Scott Allen, and this is Phronesis, Practical Wisdom for Leaders. If the topic is leadership, I'm in. I've spent more than 20 years in the field teaching, learning, writing, and questioning. When I'm not working on Phronesis, I travel, delivering keynotes, working with individuals and teams, and helping people from organizations across industries become better leaders. Want to learn more? Visit me at scottjallen.net. Phronesis offers a smart, fast-paced discussion about all things leadership. We explore relevant topics and incorporate practical tips to help you make a difference in how you lead and live. Listen Notes lists Phronesis in the top 3% of podcasts worldwide. Phronesis is the official podcast of the International Leadership Association. ILA brings together those who teach, study, and develop leadership, advancing leadership knowledge and practice for a better world. Learn more at ila-net.org. Finally, if you enjoy Phronesis, please subscribe to stay current on our weekly episodes. If you find an episode that resonates, please share it with your colleagues and friends. And if you want more content, subscribe to my newsletter, The Leader's Edge. The link is in the show notes. As always, thanks for listening. And now, here's today's show. Okay, everybody, welcome to Practical Wisdom for Leaders. Thank you so much for checking in wherever you are in the world. Today, John Macaskill, and he is a retired U.S. Navy SEAL commander, LinkedIn top voice in masculinity and traditionalism, a leadership consultant and mindfulness teacher, co-host of the Men Talking Mindfulness podcast, and he is a keynote speaker on grit, compassion, resilience. John, thank you. So what's not in your bio that I just quickly kind of covered that people should know about you, sir? Thank you so much for being here.
Well, Scott, thanks for having me. I know we've known one another for a while now, and this is the first time that we've connected virtually like this, and hopefully down the road we'll connect in real life.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing that is not in the bio there, it is in my tagline on LinkedIn, is dad first. Married, 3 young kiddos. So I'm 48, but I've got an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Okay.
So I got started late, but I like to say that I'm vintage and I have a lot of wisdom to share with them. So that's the piece that was missing.
Oh, that's awesome. We have 3 as well. We have twin girls that are 15 and a son 17. So we're a little further down the road, but so much fun, isn't it? I mean, and talk about a mirror, right? Of where you need to learn, develop, and grow.
Big time. Oh my gosh. My kids call me out all the time on my BS. Yes. They're fantastic.
Yes. Well, no one, before we had kids, I was a little bit older, I think, when I'm 53. So a little bit older when we had kids too. But it was all these conversations of, diapers, and we used to have a life, and we know all this kind of like commiserating. But It has been so much fun. And there's things that are like these wonderful surprises. Like, for instance, no one ever said to me, like, hey, you are going to craft and shape your children's sense of humor, for instance, right? And there's this moment where we're watching Elf, probably around your kid's age, and they're laughing at all the sarcasm, the irony, they're laughing at everything. And I looked at my wife and I just gave her this kind of like, okay, we're winning type look. And so we've been going through all of the comedies of the 80s and the 90s. And
beautiful.
The other night, what did we watch? We watched a documentary on John Candy, and then we watched Spaceballs.
Oh, I saw that. Oh my gosh, Spaceballs, what a classic. Yeah, we just brought them into ET, and I know it was funny. I was like, there's only one bad word in it. And then I realized watching it, there's several bad words in it. They're not terrible. But I was like, well, I watched this when I was 7 years old, so I didn't turn out too bad.
Warning,
they loved it.
So, great film. And PG meant something different then.
Yeah.
If you watch the original Airplane, be careful.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot in that one.
Some nudity. I was like, whoa, I forgot.
No. OJ's a Naked Gun. I was trying, yeah.
Naked Gun probably as well. Oh, well, I'm so excited for our conversation today. And obviously, you bring so much to the table, so much experience, wisdom, and especially around this topic of leadership. But I think where I want to start the conversation is what have you been thinking about recently? I mean, as
Mm.
you kind of navigate your work, what's kind of top of mind for you? What's catching your attention these days?
Yeah, it's probably what's catching most people's attention, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but it's the political environment that we're in right now.
Hmm.
And I don't want to speak negatively or positively. I want to be neutral because that's where I think most of America is.
Yeah.
But social media and news media focus on the polar, the ends of the polar spectrums, and kind of sow this divisiveness. And I wish that our leaders on either side of the aisle would step up and try to bring us together as a country rather than dividing us. I mean, the old saying, united we, what is it? Together we. Oh man, I'm missing it.
I
I,
think
I need more
united we
coffee. This,
stand, divided we fall.
yeah, that's that. Yeah, together we stand, divided we fall. There you go. See,
Yeah.
I need more coffee, but yes, that's so true. And I think that's where leadership in politics, leadership in organizations, leadership within the military. Yes, there are times we're going to have to go, one way or the other that may upset one side or the other. But there's also times when we need to see, okay, what can bring us together as an organization? What can develop our culture so that we can work towards a common goal?
Yep.
And that's what's been on my mind as of late.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think that's probably what's on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, I let's stay on this for a little bit because I think it's really, really important. I was saying to a friend the other day, I mean, it's a multi, maybe even trillion. I don't know. Someone smarter than me with numbers would know, but it's a multi-billion dollar industry to keep us divided,
Oh,
to keep
yeah.
us agitated, to keep us anxious, to keep us clicking, to keep us scared, anxious, nervous. And it's really, really fascinating. I imagine like this corporation, just call it division.
Hmm.
And if it was on the Dow, I mean, it's billions
Oh
and
my
billions of
goodness.
dollars, right? I mean,
Yeah.
regardless of where you are, this kind of news entertainment, however we want to define that, whether it's Rush or Rachel, um, it keeps us inflamed. And so, I sat down on the airplane the other day, and this woman looked at me. She hadn't even sat down yet. She's like, "You Republican?"
Oh my
I was
goodness.
like, "What?"
Really?
I looked at her and I said, "That escalated quickly." She kind of laughed, but it was interesting because I said we're probably not that dissimilar, right?
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, okay, right to bear arms. You believe in that?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Military grade weapons on the streets, just kind of, easy to get?" No, right? And she's like, "Yeah, no, that's not good." And okay, we're close.
Yeah.
Have immigrants built this country? Yeah, in many ways, yeah, for sure. Should we let them across the border just kind of, willy-nilly and there's no process? No, no, I agree with you. And probably US presidents for the last 50 years haven't been able to kind of figure out that puzzle and fix
Yeah.
it. And so we had this really wonderful conversation,
Nice.
but I think it's so interesting. The divisiveness is big business. It's making
It's absolutely, yeah,
billions.
I would bet that it is making trillions.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to go too far down this path, but yes, that's where I think leadership needs to step in is
Mm.
to say, you know what? Um, these 24-hour news networks, social media, they are dividing the country. This is the truth and
Yeah.
speak the truth. Or get a network that speaks the truth rather than dividing us
Yeah.
and show that, yes, exactly like you just said, we have way more in common than we have different, at least most of us. And I think that's what we need to celebrate. Now, granted, that doesn't sell. It doesn't sell,
Well, that's
but
the thing. Like you
yeah,
and I should, in the next 25 minutes, figure out how we monetize the middle.
right.
Like, like Republicans and Democrats, they collaborated today, like how do we monetize that? Because
Yeah.
we would make billions if we could monetize that. I mean, it's it's so interesting. And us as humans and our own kind of biology that is clicking, that is duped isn't the word I want to use, but we're
Mm,
seduced very quickly into clicking. And
yeah.
it gone are the days of kind of like what you just said, the Walter Cronkite, like, okay, that's the way it is. And, generally
Yeah.
speaking, that's kind of where we are as a country. And everyone went to bed and there was a similar, at least, mindset about where we were. And now we just have these different realities, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you watch the different networks, it's as we're living in a different world.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and so how do you think about that? I mean, when and so your work in mindfulness is so
mhm.
incredible on a number of different levels, but it's almost like collective mindfulness.
Mm.
How do we collectively be more mindful? I don't know. How do you see the intersection of mindfulness and some of what we've just discussed?
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to a lot of what mindfulness is just awareness without judgment, and that latter part is the key. Is not judging what you're feeling physically, not judging what you're feeling emotionally, just being in it, and that I think helps to foster several things. One, it helps to foster emotional regulation so that you can have a conversation without getting really upset.
Yep.
A conversation with somebody with differing viewpoints. It also helps to foster empathy and compassion. So
Mhm.
not only does it regulate your emotions when you're having a conversation, but it also helps you to potentially see the other person's viewpoint.
Yeah.
Understand, you may not understand their viewpoint, but you can understand, okay, this is where they're coming from. This is their background. This is how they were raised. This is where they were raised. And this is why they see things differently than I do.
Yep.
And I think that's where mindfulness can come into that collective mindfulness. I like that term.
Yeah.
As a country, like you mentioned at the beginning, one of the things that I speak about is compassion. And that is one thing that we could foster through mindfulness, through having mindful conversations, through having mindful meetings together. Um, Representative Tim Ryan, I think it was a representative, or he may have been a senator. I'm forgetting now.
No,
He
Wisconsin.
was, yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So he was at um, he was developing the mindful nation within Congress. He's
Really?
since left, but yeah, he really tried to bring in mindfulness into Congress with marginal success. But we need more heart in Congress than money, and that's unfortunately not the case right now.
Yeah, it's I had a professor, Barbara Kellerman. She was at the Harvard Kennedy School for years, and she's just a wizard.
Mm,
And she said, in some ways, our country is running some old software, and some of that old software, it has some bugs, and
sure. Hmm.
even things like, when it was justice for life, well, that was the person died. In that case, the man died at about 67. So life wasn't
Yeah.
all that unreasonable. But you
Right.
get to like, 90 and, it's different. Or right to bear arms, sure, but that probably the founders couldn't conceive of what that could mean someday. I mean,
Right.
and so it's just an interesting um, kind of observation on some of what we're seeing now, or the system kind of elevates the extremes in the primary process,
Oh, for
and
sure.
that's kind of something that's been kind of discovered and utilized and abused, and um, so it's so interesting. But I love the fact I hadn't heard that Ryan had really proposed mindfulness at that level, but
Yeah.
It's like we're so busy doing, going, producing, reacting that it's so hard to slow down. Even
Oh,
as
it
I work
is.
with corporate executives, it's so hard to slow down and be present and aware. We're just
Yeah.
ping, ping, ping,
I think
ping.
that's one of the hardest places it is to be present and slow down because in the military it actually it actually pays to be present and slow down and assess. And really it pays everywhere to do that. But the common misconception is that as you do more and more and more, and as you do more efficiently, that you're going to increase the bottom line. And to some point, to some extent, that's true. But eventually, you're going to burn your people out. You're going to burn yourself out. And if you do stop and pause and you use the term reactive, that's absolutely when I meditate, one of my mantras, as I breathe in, I say more patient. And as I breathe out, I say less reactive. And I mean that right there, if you can respond versus react, whether it's with my kids in the morning putting their shoes on,
Yep.
or not in their case, not putting their shoes on, all the way to the politics that we were just talking about, we could all afford to slow down. But yeah, in corporate America, it seems as though the thought is the faster, the more, the faster, the better.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in that. I think we've long since surpassed the point of diminishing returns in a lot of corporate teams.
In your training in the SEALs or even in the military in general, I'm interested in this kind of notion of slowing down. S- in that case, it's a lot's coming at you, and it's life or death much of the time. But you'd said something, and I would just want to make sure it was accurate. Like in those moments, slowing down can actually save lives, save your
Absolutely.
life. Talk a little bit about that. Is there actual truth
Yeah.
in that?
Yeah. We have a saying, and it mostly applies to shooting or moving through a building or some type of structure, but it can apply to a lot more. But we have a saying in the SEAL teams: slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Hmm.
And I know if you really boil it down, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it's just like if you're moving too fast, again, whether that's on the battlefield or in a corporate team,
Yep.
you're bound to make mistakes. You're bound to miss opportunities. You're bound to miss threats. And I mean, again, that's a threat on the battlefield or a threat in a corporate space.
Yep.
Certainly those threats are different, but they're still threats nonetheless. You're going to miss those. And then you're going to have to do what you were trying to do again
Hmm.
because it's gonna be a mistake. There's gonna be a mistake made. There's gonna be you're gonna take longer to do it. So it's just like a term paper, right? When we were younger,
Yep.
before ChatGPT existed, when we actually had to write these things, and you turn them in, and you're like, oh my gosh, I knocked that out. I wrote it in. I crammed in my term paper last night, and then I turned it in today. And then you get it back later that week, and it's got red all over it. But if you had spent a week writing it and been slower and then submitted it at the end of the week, maybe it would have come back with fewer red marks on it, right? So you only have to do it once or twice instead of 3, 4, 5 times.
Yep.
So
Yep.
same thing applies in everything we do, from how we get to work, like driving. If you're not paying attention, you end up like the other day. I drive my kids to school every morning.
Yeah.
But the other day, my wife took the kids to school or two of my three kids to school, and I was driving my eldest daughter to the dentist. But in my mind, I was still driving her to school. So I
Hmm.
started driving her to school, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm going the totally wrong way. Right. So I wasn't paying attention.
Yep.
And what did I have to do? Now I ended up being late to the dentist because I wasn't paying attention. But if I'd been more slow and methodical and been paying attention, then I would have gotten there on time. And I know that's a seemingly minuscule anecdote, but you magnify that to everything that we do every moment in our lives.
Yep.
Yeah, slow is smooth, smooth is fast makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think whether it's on the battlefield or whether it's an organizational life, obviously the stakes are very, very different. But um, the pace of everything, if we allow that pace to control us, I think that's when, to your point, we make mistakes. We just inattentional blindness, just all those things, we become subject to those things more easily than I had a friend who was a rear admiral. She carried the football for Clinton, actually,
Oh yeah,
Coast
nice.
Guard. Yeah, and she had called it something of you're in the basement, getting out of the basement. And that was
Mm,
the phrasing she used, but slow down to get out of the basement because right
yeah.
now you're stuck in the basement. And she has these incredible stories of, nor'easters off the coast of Massachusetts and 20-foot waves for
Yikes.
24 hours type stuff. So
Yeah, I bet she has to be slow and smooth to handle some of that stuff. And I love that metaphor. As you said that, I'm kind of imagining these horror movies,
exactly.
when there's some type of monster or whatever it is in the basement, and whenever somebody's trying to run out of the basement, they always trip and fall, and they end up pushing the door closed and locking it, and they never can get out. But if you had been slower and smoother, maybe you would have gotten away from that psycho down there.
Oh, well, what else? What else is on your mind? What else are you thinking about today? I
Yeah,
love where you
well,
started. I mean, it's
oh
a
man.
topic, but
So yeah, it really depends on what time of the day. I would normally say what day you get me is
mm,
gonna drive what's on my mind. But this day and age, it's what hour you get me. So, I've just dropped my kids off at school. I'm thinking about what the rest of the day holds, thinking about, work. So I am a solopreneur right now. I was working as a contractor for a construction company down in Dallas, but now I'm doing my own thing and teaching mindfulness meditation, doing the keynotes, doing the podcast. And what's on my mind is just really how to get people. I don't know if you saw my posts last night about the difference between being nice and being kind.
I did. I did see that.
Yeah. And that's something that I'm really trying to drive home to people is there's a lot of people who are nice people. And really, I think for the most part, they're being nice because they're scared. They're scared to tell somebody that they're doing something wrong or that they're not performing well. And I really want to teach people how to be kind instead. So I was telling my daughter, coming back to our kids and how we raise them and the lessons that we teach them. And this is kind of a gross example, but it's an important one. Is I said because we watched this. We've read this book together and we've watched this movie. It's a short movie on Apple TV. It's called the Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. It's a
Oh,
beautiful, beautiful movie. A
okay.
beautiful book. It's very short. It's animated, but you can see that it's hand drawn the whole time. And there's one scene the boy can talk to these different animals. And there's one scene the mole asks the boy what he wants to be when he grows up. And the boy says, kind. He
Hmm.
doesn't say what he wants to be as far as profession. He just says, I want to be kind. And that's got this whole kind versus nice thing stirring in my head.
Yeah.
And so I was telling my daughter, I said, hey, do you know what the difference between nice and kind is? And she said, they're the same thing. I said, they're kind of. But if I was sitting here, here's what gets a little bit gross. I said, if I was sitting here and I had a booger hanging out of my nose, if you were being nice, you would just let it hang out of my nose because you wouldn't want to embarrass me in the moment. But then I would walk around and see other people, and I've got this booger hanging out of my nose. I don't want to say dumbing it down because my 8-year-old's
No,
way smarter than I
no,
am.
but I
I'm
totally get
bringing
it.
it down to
You're
her.
on her
Yeah,
level.
yeah, I'm on her level, and then I say somebody who is being kind would be like, "Hey, Dad or John, you've got something hanging out of your nose," and that would spare me the embarrassment for the rest of the day. Sure, I would feel a little embarrassed for that 3 seconds that you told me, but then I wouldn't be embarrassed the rest of the day. And that is the difference. And she said, "Oh," and I could see the light bulb go off in her mind. And coming back to where we really started this conversation, I think we need more kind people in the world than we do nice people. I think nice is coming from a place of fear, a place of weakness, a place of self-preservation, whereas kindness is coming from a place of authenticity, a place of courage, and a desire to better not only the person that you're speaking with or being kind to, but to better the world. So that's been on my mind as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's at times we create these false dichotomies in our heads, right? That kindness is weakness or kindness
Mm-hmm.
is soft, right? As
Yeah.
as LinkedIn would say, it's strategic, not soft.
Yeah. I forget who it was.
That's who, but
There
yeah.
was a gangster movie in the day. I think it was something to the effect of, don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yep.
And I've used that line when I was in charge of a unit overseas. I was kind to some guys, and then they started running all over me.
Hmm.
I was like, whoa, 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 whoa! Don't mistake my kindness for weakness. And I ended up having to hammer them. I won't go into details about what they did, but I have to hammer them. But immediately after that, they saw that you could be kind and
Yep.
hold people accountable at the same time. There's not a difference there.
Yeah, there's a both and, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it does not mean that I need to avoid conflict. It does not mean that I am not going to hold others accountable.
exactly.
Um, I think and again, sometimes we kind of have these false dichotomies, and I love those leaders I come across that can live in that both and world, live in
Yeah.
those polarities at times, and see kind of the tensions that we're navigating because it doesn't have to be that. But I love the fact that you brought the example down to an example, a situation your daughter would recognize immediately.
Yeah.
It's a skill. It's a skill.
Yeah. Right. It's absolutely. And, when I posted this on LinkedIn yesterday, somebody said, why is this on LinkedIn? This has nothing to do with business or professionalism. I said, it absolutely does.
Wow.
Because if you're a leader within a team, and I say within a team, not of a team,
Yeah.
I say that intentionally because I do believe the leader is part of the team and should be doing everything that he or she asks his team to do. Uh, they are going to have to be kind and tell people, hey, buddy, you missed the mark on this.
Yeah.
And that's going to help them to improve. Whereas being nice is when hey, bud, good job, good job. And then years down the road, that person finds out that they were not, in fact, doing a good job.
Yep.
And that's when they get fired.
Yep.
When if the leader had been kind, that person could have been mentored and improved and gone on to have a very successful career instead of the short term being nice. So being nice feels good in the moment. Being kind is longer lasting.
Well, okay, so I grew up in Minnesota, and there's this thing called Minnesota Nice.
Okay.
It's a cultural. Here's how Wikipedia. It's like literally a Wikipedia page, John.
Wow. I'm gonna have to look it up after.
Um, it's a cultural stereotype applied to the behavior of people from the U.S. state of Minnesota, implying residents are usually courteous, reserved, and mild-mannered compared to people from other states. It implies polite friendliness, an aversion to open confrontation, a
Mm.
tendency toward understatement, a disinclination to make a direct fuss or stand out, apparent emotional restraint, and self-deprecation. So,
Ah, must have something to do with proximity to Canada.
exactly. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey, hey. And
Oh,
and for your Canadian audience, I love my Canadian brothers and sisters, just to be clear.
100%, 100%. But it's hilarious because my daughter, she's learning to drive. So John, we've been driving around our neighborhood and my daughter keeps saying, sorry, sorry. Please stop saying you're sorry. You're learning. You're doing
Yeah.
awesome. You are
Yep.
killing it right now. Don't say you're sorry. Just move a little over to the left, please.
That's great. Oh, I have that to look forward to.
that's a, it's a simulator for them to learn to drive, and it's a simulator for you to practice emotional intelligence.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Just remember you're both learning in the moment.
Yeah, I'll have to meditate very deeply before I go into the car with my kids. Although by then, who knows? Maybe we'll have all self-driving cars. We'll see.
Yesterday we were going on our first big street. So we waited till there were no cars and I said, "Okay, so go ahead and move out into the street." And she drove just straight ahead. So literally at this point, John, the car is straddling two lanes, right?
Oh, wow.
So I just looked at her calmly and I was like, "Okay, let's go in reverse. Go back to the stop sign. Now turn the wheel hard and let's take a right."
Oh, that's rich, man.
Oh, I was
That's what you
winning.
got to learn. Yeah, right.
Oh, well, I think it's a really, really interesting conversation, an interesting distinction, right? And just even helping people understand because again, the woman on the plane where I could have kind of experienced that as confrontational or
Ah,
agitating, but I kind of and I think mindfulness can do this as well. I think as I'm observing whatever's coming up, I think there's a really nice opportunity. It can spark curiosity if you're open,
oh,
right?
and curiosity is one of the greatest things
Yep.
for that compassion and empathy is understanding where somebody's coming from.
Yep.
And I think you handle that spectacularly. Yeah, you definitely could have taken offense to that. I mean, whether you're a Republican or not.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
just I was like, wow.
yeah, that's like so I drive a big truck, and I'm military, and I practice meditation. So when I tell people I practice meditation, they're like, "Oh, you're a liberal, you're a Democrat."
Mhm.
Not exactly. And when I drive my truck and I'm a veteran and I have my weapons, they say, "Oh, you're a Republican." Not exactly. Really, I vote. I never vote down the line on anything. I vote on an issue and how somebody stands on particular issues.
Yeah.
And I like to think of myself as middle of the road. And I know people will accuse me all the time. They're like, "Oh, if you're middle of the road, you're not picking a side that's weak."
Yep.
Well, I would rather not pick a side and join the two sides than pick a side and divide us. So
Yep.
I have a different opinion of what middle of the road. But it is always funny to see the natural assumption: hey, you drive a big truck, you must be a Republican. Oh, you meditate, you must be a Democrat. And yeah, here I am. I'm wearing a military hat, camouflage, but then I have the meditating special operator behind me. So I guess I'm an interesting dichotomy in and of
You are
myself.
a complex character. I love it. I love it. But I think again, I mean, it's false dichotomies. Pick a side. I mean, false, just absolutely false in this world.
Yeah,
I mean, it's I don't think it has to be that way. And so I love the fact that you are grounded enough in your own kind of being that you can say, no, this is actually who I am. This is where I stand, and this is why. If you disagree, that's okay. I'd like to learn why. I mean, that's
yeah,
interesting. Um, but it's just again, that tribalism, I think also then, regardless of your political affiliation, it's toxic on both sides. It can be toxic on both sides.
for
And
sure.
I think that, again, is part of that division. It's just a different area of that corporation called divisiveness, or, it's the,
It is a corporation.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
making billions,
yeah,
billions
easily,
and billions and billions, right?
easily.
Mm. Well, okay. So as we begin to wind down our time together, I think I always ask, what guests have been listening to, reading, streaming. You mentioned
Mm.
one book and a show on Apple that I will put a link to for sure. Um, but what else has caught your attention recently? What might listeners be interested in?
Yeah, I'm really getting. I'm a mental health advocate, and I like to call it mental maintenance or mental fitness.
Yes.
Um, just so it has less of that stigma, because as soon as you say mental health, a lot of people think mental sickness.
Yep.
But just like a car, we need to maintain our bodies, we need to maintain our brains,
Yep.
and
100%.
yeah, and so I'm tinkering constantly with different mental health modalities. Meditation is a big one to me. Clearly, I like journaling. And I think these are some things that we could all benefit from doing more of. Right now, one thing that has gotten very interesting to me is longevity.
Yes.
And I'm reading Peter Attia's book, Outlive. And it's really fascinating about, we've increased lifespan, but we haven't increased health span as much as we should.
Yep.
And his book is all about how to increase both. Really fascinating. He talks about this. It's a myth or a legend of one guy who prayed to the gods and asked for eternal life, but he did not ask for eternal youth. So he got the eternal life, but his body aged just like everybody else's. So after the time that he would have died, it continued aging and decaying. And that's what it seems like a lot of us are doing is we've extended our lives, like you talked about before. And, the lifespan used to be 67 or something, and now we're living into our 90s sometimes or even longer. But is our health span equivalent? I mean, do you really want to live to 90 if you only have 67 years of valuable life? I don't know.
No.
So, yeah, interesting read. So, Outlive by Peter Attia.
I love it. There's a guy at Harvard. His name is David Sinclair. And so I'm just going to mention this for listeners also, but Sinclair is also a longevity scholar and has a lab at Harvard. He's a geneticist. And he wrote a book called Lifespan. And he kind of nicely makes that distinction as well. But there's a podcast also by Sinclair called Lifespan. And I think it's page 7 of the book. He says something to the effect of the longevity research is where cancer was in the 60s, but by all accounts, this will be easier than cancer. So,
wow.
I mean, they're actively working to cure death. And you get into, that's a whole nother hour for us of conversation about, every institution that makes up being a human being, marriage till death do you part. Well, I love you, but that's a long time, honey.
It is.
Everything changes, right? So it's just so interesting. But I love that. Peter Attia. Okay. And then also for listeners, if you're interested in that topic and the nuances of it, because you can get into religious, ethical, you can get into so many fascinating nooks and crannies, but the book is Lifespan, and billions and billions of dollars are being invested in that space right now, that longevity space. Fascinating stuff. Wow. John, we'll do it again, sir. I really appreciate your time today. Thank
Fascinating conversation. Thanks, Scott.
Yes, and for listeners, I'm going to put a bunch of links so that you can get in touch with John. You can follow him on LinkedIn. He is a thought leader in that space and outside of that space. And so I'm going to put a bunch of links in the show notes so you'll have them there. And until next time, be well, sir.
You too, brother. Take care.
Of course, I need to thank John for his service and for just a wonderful conversation. So fun to connect, not a lot of an agenda there, but just an opportunity for the two of us to build a little bit of a relationship, explore a couple topics, and I have a lot of links in the show notes for you to learn more about John. He is an incredible speaker, and you know what? I think it would be wise if you have an event to tap him to participate. Thank you so much, John. And thanks to all of you for listening. Have a great day, everyone. Be well. Bye-bye. You have just finished another episode of Practical Wisdom for Leaders with Scott Allen. To contact me, visit scottjallen.net or send me a note at scott@scottjallen.net. I'm also on LinkedIn, so let's connect. If you have feedback, I'd love to hear it. And as always, thank you so much for listening. And now here's my daughter, Emily, with the outro.
You've been listening to Phronesis, Practical Wisdom with Scott Allen.